We want to welcome you to our third edition of Salt Talk. And for this edition, we want to talk about Vacation Bible School and ask the question, why Vacation Bible School? Why should churches have Vacation Bible School? Why should they invest in Vacation Bible School? Why is it important to work in Vacation Bible School? And so that's the topic we want to discuss and talk about. Our episodes for Salt Talk, they're based on Matthew 5:13, where Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth." And he's telling us as Christians that we are to be influencers. Just as salt influences whatever it's put in or put on, we are to be those influencers in the world around us. We are to make a difference for Christ by how we share, by how we serve, and about how we live our life for Christ. And so that's what Salt Talk is all about. Today, we want to encourage you to be an influencer in how you serve through Vacation Bible School. And so our guest today, we have Miss Judy Case, and she is a long-term director of Vacation Bible School here at Friendship Baptist Church. And me and Judy worked together for many, many years with Vacation Bible School. And Judy, I think she has about 1,000 years of serving Vacation Bible School under her belt, something like that, right?
Only 100.
Oh, only 100. Only
No,
100.
it's 25 years.
So Miss Judy was our VBS director for 25 years, and so we welcome her today to share some of her insights. And then we have Miss Sarah Sones, and Sarah is our children's church director. She also serves on our kids committee here at Friendship, and she was a worker in Vacation Bible School for many years herself. But this year is her first year to be the VBS director, and so we kind of have a veteran, and then we have a rookie here. And so I thought that would be some interesting conversation to get some insight to why we should have VBS and why it's so important. So let's start with Judy and pick her brain a little bit. So Judy, why was it important for you to serve so many years as the director?
I think VBS is the most important ministry the church does, especially within the church. And teaching children about Jesus and doing it through songs and crafts and just reinforcing that, what they were learning that day and everything they did that day, and leading them to Christ. And as they got older, to serve others, and then, like Sarah, to come back and to lead VBS. So I think that's why it's so important.
Yeah, I agree. And Sarah, what I know there may have been some reluctancy, to accept the director position. And I know you've never been reluctant in serving and being a part of VBS. But what do you think was maybe a challenge for you to accept the position?
Honestly, my kids are we're busy. I mean, that's the truest thing I can say. The girls cheer and they play basketball, and I was just thinking, I've always, even when Jesse worked off for those 3 years, I planned VBS in my schedule. But for whatever reason this year, probably because that's the way the devil works, but this year I was just thinking, I don't know if I can, I'm going to have to run them back and forth. Mallory doesn't have her license. It's just, I don't know if I can just commit to the director. Mm-hmm. And eventually I just told myself, I was like, oh, that's going to it'll work its way out, but you know what I mean? God, His work has to come first.
Yeah, and I think, that's a very important thought. And because, like, so many people today are so busy and they're involved in so many things. And but if we're going to serve the Lord, we have to prioritize those things. And I really like what you said about that, that hey, I can commit to this and get it done because I feel like this is what God wants me to do. And I think that's an important way to look at VBS. And I know that for you through the years, to have to look at your schedule and say, okay, well, this week is VBS, so we can do all this other stuff, but this week, we're serving. That's to me, I think that's how we have to do that. Because we are really busy, and we have to make that commitment to do that. So Judy, I know you for many years made that commitment and said, this is the week, every year we're having VBS. And what would you say is some of your biggest challenges to being the director?
Maybe finding workers. I guess maybe I had little faith because God always provided, and learning that as I went into VBS and worked, the longer I worked in it, I learned that God was going to provide, and that was not something I had to worry about. And it was always amazing because He did provide, and people to work, and so.
Right. And I think that's a really a good point too, because what God calls you to, God will equip you, and God will provide for you.
That's true.
And so it is a step of faith anytime we serve God, but I think particularly with VBS, and I think it's so important too, like you said, to the life of the church, how it changes. It's an investment in the children that then you see that's carried on in their youth and in their adult lives, and through the gospel making a difference in them. Do you have any favorite memories from VBS that you think of?
I can think of a funny one, and maybe it's not fun. It wasn't funny to you, but the year we did the rickshaw, and Chad rode the rickshaw into the church, and some guys were pulling him, and when they turned the corner where the pews were, Chad had just had surgery for an ACL, and they caught his knee. Now, that wasn't funny, but the kids all thought it was funny. And I was about to have a fit, so that's not a funny memory. But it's a memory because I panicked. I thought, oh, he's going to have to have surgery again. But the kids thought it was part of the program, so they got a kick out of it.
Yeah,
it's not funny.
They got a kick out of it for sure. And if I remember right, that was the gospel presentation day.
It was.
And so every week of Vacation Bible School, we have a special day where we just present the gospel, and we share that with the children, and then they have opportunity to go over that with their teachers and decide if they want to make a decision or not, or want to be taught, or want to talk more about a decision. And so we had kind of had it all planned out in my head, how I was going to present the gospel, and riding in on the rickshaw was going to be a dramatic moment. It became a little more dramatic than what we had planned. But after the pain subsided a little bit, we were able to get the gospel shared with the kids, and so yeah.
And that was always such a special day. When the gospel was presented, and then we would talk to children and hear how God was speaking to them, and got the parents involved. They were able to, if a child wanted to make a decision, we would call them. Most of the time they were working there, and they would come in and got to share that moment with their child. So that was a real blessing and a good memory, and I still remember those children. And a lot of times we would hear them, young ones would come in, and we would always talk to them because God was working and speaking to them, and they would say, I want to be baptized. And we would know that God was speaking to them, and then sometimes years later they would make that decision. So that was always a very special time.
Yes, it really was, and and that was I think something that I always appreciated about working with you through the years, and that is the importance of sharing the gospel. That's what Bible school is about. It's about It's not just about, it's not about the crafts and the snacks and all, or the games or the music, and all that stuff is part of Bible school and it's fun. But the purpose is to share the gospel, is to plant those seeds of who Jesus is and our need for Jesus into the hearts of our children, and so that they would come to that decision on their own, so they would make that choice. And a thing that I always appreciated was that we kind of shared the same heart and mindset about that we didn't want to pressure children, to accept Christ, that we wanted to guide them, in what God was kind of doing in their life, and help them to understand that, and understand, when they recognize God and they recognize that right time, then that's when they need to say yes to God. And I always thought that was important because, children can be easily impressionable.
Right.
And that's why, we never really took the approach of, just raise your hand if you want to be saved and say this prayer, because you have half of all raise their hand, and so I always felt like we had that same commitment to be careful with our children, and then those that maybe were not ready. And it was kind of, that always kind of amazed me too. It's like you sit down with a child one year and you just kind of know they're not ready, but you see God working in their life. And then you might meet with them a year or 2 years later, and it's just like a light bulb. It's just like, and
that's true.
And so, and then too, I think it always helped that when God kind of showed me, He wants to save those children more than we do. And He wants them to be saved even more than their parents do.
Right.
And so He's got it.
Right.
If He's, and we want to encourage those children that you're where God wants you to be. You're learning, you're growing, and all of that, and God's at work, and to encourage them along those lines. And it's a blessing.
It is.
It's a blessing.
And that you're allowed to be part of it, that God allows you. That was always so exciting to me, that
Right.
to be a part, that part of their life that they'll never forget. So.
That's true. And Sarah, I know you worked many years in VBS doing crafts. And that was kind of your thing. So why was that important to you? Why was crafts kind of your thing in Bible school?
Well, when I was growing up, ours was a little bit different. We did assembly Friday night, and you came back and you got to kind of show your parents what all you had done all week. And I couldn't wait to show my mom and daddy the crafts that I had done. That was my pride and joy, I guess. But I loved doing everything, but I couldn't wait to show them what crafts I had done. And back then, it was a little different. We might have put beans on a shear, it was a lot different than the crafts we do now. But it was still something I was really excited to show them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I love them so much.
Yeah, I got you. So it kind of had a special place in your heart as a child, and you enjoy seeing other children kind of have that experience, right?
I love it. And they come in and they tell you about what they're learning that week. And then we always, I don't know if it was a memory verse, or I guess it was the memory verse that we would go over with them while they were in there. But they wanted to tell us about their whole day and what they had done at rec and what they had learned. And we just, sometimes they teach you.
And that's so important to reinforce
Right.
wherever they went, whether it was snacks or missions or playground or crafts. And
our crafts went with the lesson at each day. So it was something they could take home to remind them of what they learned, just to kind of reinforce that.
So it kind of all fits together, and for that purpose, of sharing Jesus. But it sounds too like you're able to have a lot of conversations in that craft room.
Yes, we have a lot of conversations.
Which you probably learn a lot of stuff.
Yes.
So as you have those talks, so do you have, like, through the years, And how many years have you done crafts?
Me and Abby Newell were talking about it. I think she was still in high school, so I was helping Miss Sharon then probably about 15 years.
15 years, wow. So, do you have a favorite craft that?
I think the Tide shirts would have to be everybody's favorite. We sometimes it would take lots of after hours coming up here and making sure they were dry, throwing them, take them in batches and throwing them in my dryer to make sure it's set, and before you could bring them back for the kids to wear. And I feel like one year we even washed them to make sure they were set before we brought them back. But I think that was my favorite.
Oh, okay. And I remember that. I remember seeing it's like the whole back fence of the cemetery there behind the church, just shirts hanging up, buckets of tie-dye and all of that. And I always appreciated because we're busy doing other things during Bible school, but y'all always have me a shirt and say Brother Chad, and that always made me feel good that even in crafts, y'all would think about me, make sure I wasn't left out. So, but so Judy, what do you think is like an important thing to focus on as a director?
Prayer. I think you should start. That should be your first, and I know it has been your first thing because you had to pray about whether to do this. But prayer, a prayer team. People would come before they went to work and pray, walk around and pray. People would leave notes on my desk or notes around, and you would know that they had been there and they prayed for you that day. And people would pray during Bible school. So I think that's the most important thing because you never know if it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Somebody's going to get sick, and then everybody's going to get sick, or something, And so you just needs to be bathed in prayer, and allow God to protect you and to strengthen the workers, and that's important. Praying for your workers and your teachers because. Something, like I say, they have things to deal with besides Bible school, so during that week, so I think that's really important.
And I think, there's so much that goes into Bible school, like planning, preparation, then you got, you got to get all the crafts together, the teaching stuff together, you have to do all that, and I think sometimes it's easy to overlook that importance of prayer. But to realize that what we're doing in Bible school is spiritual. It is spiritual in nature, and that means that and with it being about Jesus, that means that the enemy doesn't like it, and so there's spiritual battles that take place in people's lives during Vacation Bible School. Those that are working and those that are serving, and it just, sometimes it's amazing that the things happen the way that they do. And I know it seemed like every year air conditioner's going to break down or something like that, within the facilities or something's going to happen, And you realize that spiritual battles are taking place. And I think that's why prayer is so important, and just claiming the authority of Jesus and the power of Jesus over what we're doing, and the love of Jesus over what we're doing, and
that's also something everyone in the church can do for you is to pray. If they're at work or not able to be there and to help. A lot of people shut-ins. That was a big resource for prayer because they would say, "I'm praying for y'all."
Right.
It means a lot.
That's exactly right. It does mean a lot, and that's a commitment to make. To be intentional over.
Right.
So this year, so you worked Bible school 15 something years and all, and this year you stepped into that director role. So how was that decision? How did that kind of unfold for you?
Well, we I'm not exact. I know we were at a children's meeting, and you said you had asked a couple people, and you were like, I don't know who we're gonna get to do it this year. And it had been on my heart already, and I said, I'll do it. And like I said, I was just battling with, how am I gonna do it? You know what I mean?
Right.
Just how am I gonna do it? But it was really easy to say, and easy. Everything since has been easy. I know that sounds silly, but even we were sitting there the other day, and I thought we really need a nursery for the kids. And Miss Robin Vaughn walked by, and she said, "You just let me know what babies you need me to love on." And I said, me and Abby just looked at each other then, because we were like, we had just said it, and it's just really every little thing that you feel like is big.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like God sends somebody, and it really in that moment, it's somebody will text you, and you're just like, okay. I don't have to stress about this. You've already got it taken care of.
Right.
Wow, yeah, that's right, and I know it's hard. It's hard because you have 3 kids, and your kids are very active and involved in so much stuff and good stuff, and they're very involved in the youth group as well, and things that go on there, and so I know it's a lot on your plate to try to make that decision and make that commitment, and but you seems like you saw that commitment as more important than it was a priority to you.
Right. And I guess growing up in VBS, I see how many lives it touches, and it brings everybody in our church from the oldest to the youngest together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always meant so much just to see our church come together on that week and just serve together and just see, and just reach out into the community. And it's just a very big mission for our church. Mm-hmm. So it does mean a lot.
Yeah.
And what an example you are to your children, because they will see that that's important to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that they will
that's
follow
right.
an example, really.
And you have some youth children, and so I know they always, a lot of times, in some way, they may be busy during the week some, but I know in some way they will be up here,
Yes.
helping serve and helping do, and so I think there's a lot of ways that God uses your commitment to as a blessing, and also you mentioned kind of end with that about I kind of went blank what I was talking about, what I was thinking about just then. Oh goodness, what was it? I just went blank. That's went blank. The mission of the church, yeah. So when you said the church comes together, and that you've noticed that through the years, and I know Judy, you mentioned that as well, and I really believe that VBS, one of the main reasons why our church and other churches should commit so much to VBS is that it is the main mission project for your community, for the children, not only within your church, but the children within your community. And it is the main thing that you do throughout that year,
and we've seen the
to reach your
families
community.
that VBS has brought into the church.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives the kids the opportunity to kind of reach out and ask their friends to come and invite them, and just kind of learn, how to reach out and invite others.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it kind of teaches them that, how to invite people to church. That's just right. Throughout the year. Mm-hmm. Now Judy, you had kind of a statistic. I know we've talked about it in the past, about how much kind of Bible teaching, Bible training a kid will get in a week of Bible school. So
I believe it's 7. They get 7 months of training in 1 week that they would get normally. It would be 7 months of Sunday school. Right. But they get it that much in 1 week. It's because it's over 17 hours they get.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So that's
So
that's why it's intense.
Yeah, it's a very intense.
Because they learn so much, and how important it is for them to get that. And like you said, it's probably the most important ministry we do inside the church. Mm-hmm. So.
Absolutely. So, Sarah, do you do you have I asked Judy if she had a favorite memory from Bible school or whatever. Do you have a favorite memory?
A favorite memory.
From working. Yeah, you shared your memory with taking your crafts to your mom. You know, you showing your mom your little paper with your peas on it. You know,
Probably my favorite memory from working is being hand in hand with Miss Sharon. I know that's
oh, okay.
she taught me how to lead crafts and how to, you know, and I would go with Miss Judy and Miss Sharon months ahead of VBS to these workshops,
Mm-hmm.
and they just taught me how to lead
Mm-hmm.
a class, and that was, you don't realize how much goes into stuff like that, and Miss Sharon really poured into me and helped me.
Uh-huh. Wow. So really,
And she's doing crafts this year.
is she really? Oh, you brought her out of retirement.
I did. Actually, I was so nervous because I was like, that may have been my main hold up. I didn't want to leave crafts.
So it's in good hands.
And yes, and when she was like, I really want to do crafts, and I was like, okay, that's perfect.
Wow. Wow. So that's awesome. So we have, like, as you go through Bible school, the different stations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have, what are some of those different stations that the kids will go through?
So we have 5 stations. It'll be crafts, science, and Bible, which you do.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. You're gonna have to help me. Science, Bible,
You got music?
crafts, music, and there's one more.
Snacks?
Missions.
Oh, missions.
Yes, Miss
Missions,
Christie's
that's right.
doing missions.
Right, so we have missions, and then of course you have your regular worship rally stuff, and also, and then all of those stations, like you said, even rec, the themes and the verses are all reinforced through those stations, and so like Judy, you were talking about, you know, Bible school is that intensive for that entire day, you know, that they're there, the 4 hours or so that they're there, you know, it's they're learning about Jesus through all these different activities and things that they're doing. I think another important thing that we have always done in Vacation Bible School is missions and mission projects and teaching our children about missions, and we've collected offerings and had little challenges as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it seems like it's always the girls against the boys, you know, and who can take up the most money, and then usually what happens to the winners and the losers, right? So I know we've done, like the loser would get slimed or get ice water dumped on them, but I think slime is probably the standard.
I'll say I like to make the slime to dump on y'all.
So I haven't had to get slimed. I don't think I did. Did I last year? I can't remember.
I think you did.
I can't remember. It's so traumatic. I blocked it out. So. But that's always just kind of a fun way to you know, for the kids to have fun with it, but like, as we've always told them, you know, it's not really who wins and loses here, because it's a win-win because of the mission that you're involved in. And and we've done different things in the past. We've done flip-flops, and we've done what are some other things we've done?
Water wells.
We've done the water wells for India one year.
God always provided. We never had to come up with a mission project, because God always, somebody would ask, or we would find out of a need, and we would. So that was always exciting to see what He was going to do every year. So this year,
right?
This one's exciting.
It is. It's very exciting. And so you want to share a little bit about this year's project?
Sure. This year we have a team going to Bolivia. So this year's money that we raise for missions will go to Bolivia, and they are. Should we show them a backpack?
Yeah, I'll grab one.
We're going to buy supplies for the children in Bolivia. So this backpack's one of the things that we're going to purchase for the children, and then when they're in Bolivia, they will actually buy some other supplies and stuff that they need. But our own church members will get to hand out the supplies to these children.
Mm-hmm. That's right, and that's a big need. I mean, even in our in our community, children need school supplies, and often there will be drives in our community to help folks that need that, or don't have all the resources to get their school supplies, and there in Yagadu, it's even a bigger need. So the children do have a difficult time getting paper, pencils, those types of things, and so with talking with Pastor Boris, we thought that would be a wonderful way to make a difference for them, to encourage them, and then also we get to go into the schools there in the village of Yagadu and present the gospel and teach moral values, and so we're excited about being able to do that, and it really felt like this would be a project that our kids could kind of connect with, because they can see the backpack, they can bring supplies, they can donate their money, and then on top of that they'll get firsthand from those that have gone down there with our team, and pictures from all of that, and be able to actually see how their funds have helped someone else and helped other children. So I think it's an important thing. So not only that we serve them, but we teach them how to serve and think what it means to make a difference for Christ. So all right. So what you have any final thoughts on VBS? Any great words of wisdom to leave us with?
You told me I didn't have to give her any wisdom. Well, like I said, the prayer, and then the memories and the blessings, and I had shared. Brother Jim and Miss Isabel Coney were always so faithful to help with missions, and then they were on our prayer team. And the first year I asked him, she was so excited, and he was like, I'm not sure about this. And she said, Jim, it's just 1 week out of the year. And so I always reminded myself of that. It was just 1 week out of the year, and sure, we can do it. So and they were so faithful to do it. So,
absolutely.
And we knew that they were praying for us. They were in the prayer room praying for us. And we had so many people. Miss Katie was always so faithful and to pray for us. Mm-hmm. And that's just such a blessing. That's one of my favorite memories, I guess, is just knowing that how people support and pray and care about our children.
Yeah.
Love our children. Love our children in our commuty. Because we see a lot of them. So.
And it's just 1 week.
Just 1 week.
Do you have any final thoughts, Sarah?
We said this earlier, but the children are the future of our church, and we just for 1 week, we pour into them all the time. But that one, we can really pour into them, and they'll remember that forever. Because I can remember stuff that Miss Judy said and did that she probably, to this day, when I think about VBS, I can remember stuff that Miss Judy said and did. So we're more than grateful for everything that she did for us.
And I'm excited for Sarah to do this. It's exciting to watch her grow up and to see her doing this, and I'll be your biggest supporter.
Absolutely. You got 25 years in you?
Oh,
I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to get this one first.
You signed the contract? You signed the contract for 25?
She made it look easy, so she made 25 years look real easy.
We'll get by this week first.
Yeah,
this 1 week in the year first. So thank y'all for joining us today and sharing your hearts and sharing your love for Vacation Bible School, and we just want to remind our church folks that tune in and listen to this podcast just why we do VBS and how important it is an investment in our children. And a great way to help and serve. VBS is about everybody coming together, whether it's just taking a week to pray every day, whether it's being a part of a prayer team, or whether it's actually being here, serving in some way or helping in some way. It takes everybody. And so we want to encourage you to come be a part. Contact Sarah. Let her know if you would like to help and be a part of Vacation Bible School. If you're part of a church, another church, we want to encourage you to get involved in your Vacation Bible School there, because it is such an important part of what your church does in its community, and we're so privileged to be a part. And I've had such a great blessing as a pastor to have worked with Miss Judy for almost 20 years. That me and her got to work together, serving together, and just a lot of good memories. We don't even have time today to talk about so many of the funny stories and memories that we have together. And then also to have Sarah, who's worked so long, but now in Bible school, but now stepping up and being our director. And Sarah, God's really blessed you and gifted you with the ability to just make people feel comfortable and want to serve, and being able to handle things with a smile and with a calm spirit, and just show your love for your children and the children you work with, and for other people. And I think God's really going to use you in strong ways this year for our church. So I want to thank these ladies. They're an important part of our church, and they mean a lot to me. And so we want to remind you, as our episode is Salt Talk, we want to remind you as a Christian to go out there and to be salty, and live your life for Christ in a way that influences others. All right, thanks for tuning in.